This revolves around Australian rules football country team. You don't really need to know much. You're English, you're not Americans. You understand that emus don't fly. The only other thing you need to know is that what you call WD-40, we call RP7 for some unknown reason. If you're Americans, I'd have to do a complete rewrite. The town of Manukana in the far west of the state had, outside of football, little cause to celebrate. The Manukana Emus, coached by Albie Shanks the mayor. The players liked their namesake, next to useless in the air. While they hadn't won a flag for nigh on 50 years, they did have Clary Beadle, revered by all his peers. Over 60 years of age, a farmer and a vet, nearly 700 games, and he wasn't finished yet. One record still eluded. He was running out of time. First to kick 1,000 goals, he was stuck on 999. Carting hay one Arvo at the far end of the block. He left the engine running while he went to move the stock, and his tractor jumped a gear, pinning Clary to a tree. While lucky to survive, he lost his leg above the knee. And that, the town assumed, was the end of his campaigning. But barely 12 months later, Clary fronted up for training. An artificial leg knocked together in his shed, a spring from an old Bedford, and a foot from his brass bed. Screwed into a footy boot, the largest ever seen, size 8.5. His good foot, his left, size 17. Anybody else, you'd have thought it was a joke, but no one doubted Clary, he was not that sort of bloke. They had no heart to tell him since the abattoir closed down. The club was close to folding, half the players had left town. The trainer, Tassie Gooch, "Bugger this," he said. "We've weathered droughts and politics. We're down, not bloody dead. We might have lost some players, but we haven't lost our soul. I, for one, aren't budging till Clary kicks that goal." Well, Tassie's speech inspired old Ernie Dibbs to have a run. Last time he put his hand up was to serve in World War I. Father Brian, the local priest, and Cecil Crabb, the baker. Even Vincent Caffarella, the local undertaker. Des Gillett used a cane since diabetes took his sight. "Just point me west," he shouted, "I can still tell day from night." Tassie's girlfriend Olga, as tough as hardened steel. A boner at the abattoirs, she volunteered with zeal. The coach recoiled. "A woman? It's not allowed, fair go." Olga winked, then whispered, "Relax, no one will know." "I'll give my hair a trim and flatten out my quiff. And then if I quit shaving, no one will know the diff." Albie stared at Olga's chin, looking for a trace. "Legs," she snarled, "you cheeky prick, not me bleeding face." "What about your bosoms? They're the size of sacks of wheat. Like trying to hide an elephant. They hang down to your feet." "Calm down, pet," Olga cooed. "I'll tuck them in me trunks. It'll look just like a beer gut. At least I'll blend in with you, drunks." So they scraped the team together to play the Deadfield Tiger Snakes. And never in their history had they played for higher stakes. Hammered from the opening bounce, they couldn't take a trick. But they hadn't come to win the game, just one lousy kick. Clary's gait looked awkward, like a broken chicken wing, as he fought to tame the power of his inbuilt Bedford spring. You wouldn't call it running, more a skipping than a hop. Speed was not an issue, his problem, how to stop. His mechanical appendage thrust him high above the pack. 10 free kicks he gave away, all for in the back. Sent it to the goal square, took Clary just 2 jumps. But it was deemed he'd run too far, at least according to the umps. Till finally exhausted, he was forced to seek the bench, where they massaged Clary's leg with RP7 and a wrench. With little time remaining, encouraged by his team, Clary came back on to try to realise his dream. Cecil Crab the baker was on a roll and kicked it deep. Clary, holding nothing back, took one gigantic leap. And though it looked spectacular, his leap was badly timed. Not only did he miss the ball, he left his leg behind. Olga, thinking quickly, ripped the leg out of the mud and charged towards the footy with a sudden rush of blood. And she clubbed the ball as sweetly as Greg Norman in his prime and drove it through the middle as the umpy blew full time. The crowd, lost in silence, turned as one towards the ump, while Clary kneeled in prayer. Well, one knee and a stump. Even opposition players willed that pigskin through. But the umpire stood bewildered, unsure of what to do. Olga broke the impasse, shouting, "Listen here, you fools," and gave them her analysis of the spirit of the rules. The ball went through the goal, that was never in dispute, and no one could deny it came off Clary's boot. They scanned a battered rule book, every clause dissected. Nothing said your body and your leg must be connected. So the umpy blew his whistle, took a breath and raised his hand. A goal to Clary Beadle. Clary had his grand. The oval erupted, a thundering of cheers. Supporters of both teams stood hugging and in tears. Clary had his 1,000 and the crowd saw history made. But sadly, that game was the last the Emus played. Lost to all but memory, in hearts it still survives, like all the unseen moments that sets apart our lives. Clary's gone the way of his beloved footy club. His boot has pride of place at the Manacunna pub. It hangs above the bar with the rest of Clary's kit. Like Cinderella's slipper, it awaits the perfect fit. A sign reads, "Good home wanted, wear this if you will." But a warning to you wannabes, it's a bloody big boot to fill.